Yep.
All righty. Well, we're going to get started here with questions for Kevin. Let's kick things off with Chris Estrada. Go ahead, Chris.
Kevin, thanks for joining us today. Even though you've gone winless in the regular season, you still managed to put up 16 top 10s. And that comes down not just to you, but your 4 team doing all they can to maximize what they've got. So you obviously want more, but being able to fight and get these results, do you feel that's made your team stronger as we approach the playoffs?
I feel good about our team. I think our team has done a great job with the circumstances that we've been presented with. And I think, the last 4 or 5 weeks, our cars have run a lot better. We've still got some work to do and with some things on the balance side of the car, to start these races. But, in the end, our team has done a great job, and those numbers could have been a lot better if it weren't for 3 or 4, ill-timed accidents at the end of a few of the races. So it's it's obviously, you obviously want to win, but some years just don't go exactly how you want them to go, and I think those are the years that you got to dig down and do the things that our guys have done this year. So got to be in it to win it, and we given ourselves a chance and see where it all falls in the end.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Alex Andreev. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Kevin, thanks so much for your time. I apologize if you've already answered this because I hopped on from a different call, but I'm just trying to get a sense from all the playoff drivers of how much the Delta variant is kind of impacting just precautions that you guys are taking, if there's anything that you're doing differently with cases rising, and seeing that Corey missed a race last weekend and now it's sort of crunch time, or 2 weeks ago. Is there anything you're doing differently, A, and B, if you're comfortable sharing whether you've been vaccinated or not, then great.
Yeah, well, I don't really think any of that stuff is meant to be talked about on these types of situations. But I think as we've gone through the world over the last couple of years, I think we've changed with the world, and I think as you go through each week and you go through each different scenario, you realize things that you should and shouldn't do certain ways. I think compared to last year at this time, I think our family and the things that we're doing look a lot different than what they were 2 years ago at this time. So I think if anybody who tells you that the things are back to normal or doing things the same or obviously that's not us. So I think you have to be able to still live your life, and we are doing that and trying to do it as safely as possible and be smart about the things that we do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Paul Newberry. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Good.
I want to ask you another non-playoff question. Going back when you were first coming into the sport, the Hans device was coming in, a lot of attention on it, obviously, and you were sort of obviously, got into the sport when that was a huge issue. Do you remember kind of your first sort of, putting on the Hans, or what you thought about it back in those days, if you can think back that far, and just what do you think it's meant to the sport over the last 20 years? Obviously, has been a huge step forward, it would seem, in safety.
Yeah, well, our sport has done a great job in safety over the last 20 years. Obviously, for me, I was on a different side of things with safety and the progression of it. Being in the car that Earnhardt drove, there was obviously a lot of things that went along with that, and that progression came from that particular scenario with Dale. And I think our sport took a stance at that particular time and said we got to do things differently. So the first thing that happened was the open face helmet was outlawed. The next year the Hans device came in, and the head and neck restraints became mandatory. The seats have changed a tremendous amount. So the Hans, for me, I use the Hutchins device in the beginning. The Hans device is obviously a much better device, and that has gone a long ways to the safety of our sport. So now it's just a part of what you do, along with all the seats and head restraints and seat belts and walls and so many things have changed in such a great way through the years. So it's been quite the progression. It's still something that NASCAR puts a really heavy emphasis on in making sure that they progress with the accidents and problems that they see, and holding the safety equipment companies accountable to keep progressing and doing things better. So it's been quite the progression for sure.
You said you used the Hutchins at first. Was the Hans? Do you just remember what it was like when you started using that? Was it? I know some people it was uncomfortable for them, and it was just different, obviously.
I mean, at that particular time, none of us wanted to use any of it. So, they were forcing us to change. Thank God. And then as you went through time, it took a lot of time to get your car and your seats and everything comfortable, because the way you sat in a seat. The Hans device at that particular time didn't have many options with the different angles of the device and the way that it sat on your shoulders. So now there's still several different devices, but it's pretty hard to beat the Hans device. And now that the padding is sewn into the seat belts, and you don't have to wear big pads on the device itself. But it's definitely the best head and neck restraint device that you can use.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take our next question from Alan Cavana. Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Kevin, I know the long season and the playoffs now, the intensity, it can be long and draining, but then I see on your Twitter account, you're putting your daughter in a race car as well in your off time. First of all, how'd that go? But how important is that balance? Just, the competitiveness, but also away from the racetrack. How important is that balance for you?
Yeah, well, I think, doing this for 20 years, you figure out, the balance that you want. When it's time to, to get away, when it's time to press, when it's time to do things differently, whatever the scenario is. I think for me, our racing life is pretty much revolves around our normal life as well. So they kind of go hand in hand with my racing and Keelan's racing. And, Piper is definitely, in the driveway here, making laps as Keelan did, 4 or 5 years ago. So it's, it's just, we're a racing family, and that's what we do. And you kind of, plan everything that you do around the race schedule. Our kids are at school at home still. So, I think that gives us a little more leeway with homeschooling and the things that we do with them. So, it's interesting how life has changed over the last couple of years. I think our life has migrated into something totally different than what we could have imagined it 2 years ago. But I would say it's probably in a better spot than it was 2 years ago. So having all that right at home definitely makes managing the busy race life a lot easier, because you have some flexibility of things and also understand what you like and don't like.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's all the time we've got with Kevin. Thank you so much for taking some time with us. We wish you the best of luck in the playoffs.
Thank you.